Welcome to the Startup of the Year podcast, where each episode we showcase exciting new companies from around the world. This podcast is produced by Established, creators of the Startup of the Year program. Established is focused on helping organizations with their innovation, startup, and communication strategies. Thank you to our podcast sponsor, Silicon Valley Bank.
Hello, everybody. Hey, we're back again. This is Frank Gruber. It's the Startup of the Year podcast. And today we're talking about startups from the Gulf region. We've got a big event going down in New Orleans, and it's happening April 29th through May 2nd. And we're going to have a big Startup of the Year competition down there. So excited to talk about some companies that we've seen through the Startup of the Year program that will be, some will be participating, some may not, but we just want to get updates on some of the companies we've seen as we get ready to head down to the Bayou. But first, I must introduce our co-hosts. Today, we've got a great group of co-hosts from the Established and Startup of the Year team. We've got Lori Thiel, Jen Consalvo, Rich Maloy, and Joe Corbett joining us. How's everybody feeling today?
Hey.
Wonderful.
NOLA. Yeah, we're talking about NOLA. All right, so I think we should just jump right in. We've got some great companies we're going to talk about today, and I think we should set the tone as usual with a little Emmylou Harris, because this is really going to. There we go. Gulf Road Highway. Does that get everyone amped?
I think you need some new tone-setting music. I mean, the state capitol music, the Texas, state song.
What you think that's off? I mean, I thought this would get us going. I thought, am I not on the right page here with this?
I think it sounds like a great first date movie.
Okay.
What about Down in the Bayou?
Down in the Bayou? That one from well, I didn't know if we could pay Dave Matthews rights for that usage, so I didn't want to go there. We do have some startups to talk about, so let's just dive in. We've got one that's based out of New Orleans, which is pretty exciting, that we've worked with before, as they were part of our Startup of the Year program previously, and they're going to be working with us, I think, hopefully in the future. And it's one near and dear to our hearts. Lori, do you want to take it away with Dig Dates?
I would love to. I love all startups, but it is hard not to have a special place in your heart for one that has to do with dogs, especially for me. So Dig Dates is an app that provides a platform for pet parents wanting to find a match and who love their animals as much as they do. It's designed for pet parents and pet lovers. In addition, they've got some new things going on where they build out daily deal features for things like pet treats and daily tips from vets and trainers. But ultimately, this is focused on how to make sure your lifestyle is suited to someone else's lifestyle, whether they have a dog or not, or that they are open to the idea that they can love your dog. That's really where this comes from. And so some fun background, because I always like to be the colorful commentator on our startups, is that this is co-founded by sisters Lee and Casey Eigson. They were one of our top 100 semifinalists last year in Boston, so we know them well, and we've been watching and seeing all their great success happening. It's great to see. Lee comes from a great background of journalism and teaching journalism and also being a journalist herself, along with some other accomplishments in the NOLA area. And Casey, her sister, is an accomplished art director in the New York area. So I think their skill sets blend very well to have started this company called Dig Dates. And most importantly, they each have super cute, furry coworkers named Penny and Layla. And we got to meet Layla last year in Boston, and she was a big hit. So that's just a little bit of fun background on our co-founders. So what I always love, the best part about this, though, is the story of how they got there. And her sister Casey started dating a guy who really tried to be a dog person for her, and he just couldn't bring himself to love dogs as much as she loved her Layla. So when her sister asked her about it, she asked, what happened, so forth, such a great guy. She said, yes, he even tried to put towels down on the couch, etc. It just wasn't working the way I want to have my lifestyle with my dog. I wish I would have known sooner how to match lifestyles. And hence, that's basically how Dig Dates was born from the story I hear. So since we were with them in Boston, they've seen a lot of traction. While they are an app that's available to everybody, no matter where you are, they have launched they've launched 10 cities where they help highlight in those cities these great dog parties where all you have to do is either get the app or share the app to enter into the party and get a free drink and bring your dog and create the atmosphere they're looking for to find pet lovers loving other pet lovers. And so they've done Boston, or they've done New York and Austin, and they've got a whole list out there on their website if you want to be somebody that helps bring a party to a city near you. That's also out there. They've raised $382,000 to date, and they've already started another round to raise another $382,000, which includes being able to contribute through a crowdfunding campaign, and they're seeing a lot of their own app users fund this campaign, which I think says a lot about the type of company they are, their customer service, the loyalty, the brand, and how their customers are really loving Dig Dates. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
And then a little bit more here on the media coverage side. I think Lee's expertise on the journalism side definitely lends to all of her great coverage. True story, I was listening to NPR just a few weeks ago, and I came in midway, and all of a sudden I hear Lee's voice, and I hear Dig Dates, and I was like, oh my gosh, one of our Startup of the Year alumni is getting on How I Built This by NPR, and I thought that was pretty cool for them as well. It was a recent feather in their cap.
That's amazing. That's great news. And isn't that funny? You were listening, and all of a sudden they were on. I
just recognized your voice, and of course and it just went, it was just like little, like just cheering them on and just happy to hear it. So, and I want to just make a quick note. I said they were currently raising, I think, 389. That was their last round. So they're currently raising 350 for this seed round, just to clarify. And you can invest as a minimum of $99 into that crowdfunding campaign they have going, where you can find on Net Capital. So I want to just end this with a really special note. Lee makes it very clear about how much support she's gotten from New Orleans, both she and her sister. Heavy ties there, lots of support. One of the cool things they do as well is they use rescues throughout their marketing app and Twitter and anything they use marketing social wise. They use rescue dogs from the Jefferson Parish SPCA and NOLA Bulldog Rescue. So I just can't tell you, it's just so impressive to see how many ways she's trying to not only build her business, but just build ties through the community and through partnerships, long-term partnerships, and her customers. And it's just so impressive to see how many different ways you can bring dogs into the world. So so that's my notes on what's going on with Dig Dates, and just really can't wait to see how they continue to rise, and look forward to seeing them again soon.
That's great. I love the dogs.
Maloy, the thing that I hear as you talk about that, and as I've reviewed Dig Dates before, is they are focused on their community, and the businesses and the startups where community is an important piece of that. The businesses that are focused on the community and that put all of their energy into serving their community and doing right by their community, those are the ones that make it in the long term, that are able to build those network effects, because people can't live without it. They don't want to be without it. And they'll do anything to support and grow that business because they feel a part of it, because they're served by it. So I love their focus on community.
I wholeheartly agree. It's like a new twist on a dating app scene, but they are definitely focused on building community with their customers and with their supporters. It's evident, and I think it's their number one. What they would see as their number one key to success.
And I agree with you. That bigger mission helps with a lot of different companies. I think a lot of times folks get focused so much on their thing, and instead of jumping into with a bigger kind of mission in the world. And I think having that community as a backbone is really strong and powerful. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. Thank you so much for all that insight about Dig Dates, our New Orleans company.
Gotta know the story.
Yes, we do. Oh, sorry. A little jazz for our New Orleans company. It's nice, right?
That's great. Yeah. I like it. I can dig it.
Gets us going.
I can dig it.
A little bit better. There you go. That was punny. All right. So next up.
Hey, Frank, I'm going to jump in before you steal my opportunity to make a dad joke, because there's usually one coming out of you every 10 minutes or so. We're at the 10
Go for it
right now. So we're going to shift gears from furry friends to furry men, and we're going to focus on Fade.
I love it.
Which is a startup we've seen before. And where did we see them? What city were we in? Was that
Boston?
Were we in Boston?
Yes,
that was in Boston.
Yes. But they are from Texas. Just so you know.
They are from Texas. They're a Dallas, Texas-based startup. They have a pretty interesting product that I'm interested in, if only because it has three markets it's serving. So they're an app-based company that serves barbers, that allows barbers to become members in their network to help them find clients, manage schedules, let users book appointments, which is another avenue that they have. So it's not just for barbers, it's also for users like myself who need to be groomed. And if you've ever met me, grooming is something I could probably spend more time on. And I love technology, so anything I can load an app on my phone and make my life easier, I'm probably going to do it. So Fade connects barbers to users and users to barbers based on a user like myself going in, setting my profile up, saying, "Hey, I like a close shave. I like conditioning and scalp massage, all that. Who in my area can provide these types of services? It'll match you up, and you can continue to go to your barber just by booking through the application." Another avenue they have for revenue. Again, I really like startups that have multi-prong approach, not just like hyper focus in the area, but also a multi-prong approach. They have barbers and end users, but also brands. Brands can go into their platform and help users find their products and things that might be interesting to them. So as a person like myself who has a beard, and I mean facial hair, get that right, I'll only see products that are relevant to my profile. So if I'm saying, hey, I have a beard, I need someone to keep it groomed and trim, I'll only see products like Bluebeard to keep it moist and fresh, right? So this is really a kind of hyper-focused, curated way of keeping men groomed and put together. And as we mentioned at the beginning of this, we've seen them before in Boston, and they're going to make the trip to New Orleans. Am I allowed to say that? Did I just divulge information?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You can definitely say that. I'm still stuck on the use of moist around beards. Sorry about that. It's just
well, as a man who doesn't have a beard, you wouldn't know.
I think it's fine for you to bring up Inno in New Orleans. We're headed there.
That's right. City near to my own heart. Yes.
Yeah.
So we did get an update from them. They are currently raising a $500,000 pre-seed round, and they've decided to shift from having shift to a SaaS-based model. So now barbers can actually subscribe to their app. They're not going to take like a cut or a commission anymore. I actually like that. I think keeping it simple, keeping people into a subscription model means they're more likely to. You kind of set it and forget it. $25 probably isn't too cumbersome to the end user. They're also making a package deal, $299 to an entire barbershop. So I really think they've had the time between the last time we've seen them and now to really respond to whatever the market feedback has been, and that shows with how they've matured since. And that's Fade. Unless you guys have something else to add. Actually, Rich, you should add something because you're the one with probably the most manicured hair on the team.
I think that would be Frank. The award goes to Frank on that one.
It's funny. You say that. I'm currently wearing a hat. Probably because it would take too long to get ready. So maybe you're right on that.
Maybe we should do some picture comparison because my husband's got a pretty good beard, just saying.
Well, I do. I used to sport the startup beard. So
but yours is like the scruffier one. Like Joe has a real beard. And Josiah has a real beard.
Oh, come on now.
There's layers of beard.
My phone number is in the podcast description.
Well, one more thing about Fade is we were talking about community earlier, and I think these guys really do know all about community. If we remember, they won our fan favorite in Boston, and I remember them really drumming up a lot of excitement and support around them. So I would guess these guys are going to continue in that effort and really build up a really exciting community around what they're doing.
Yeah, they get an enthusiastic award from me for sure.
Yeah, and Lori, I think you mentioned this in our pre-production, how it's good to see a startup coming in again to participate and quote unquote compete for the top spot. As much as winning startup of the year is a great thing, but just participating, I think, is a boon to any startup who does participate. Which I think Fade would agree with, which is why they're back.
Yeah,
and with how they've matured, I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish much closer to the top.
They were such a testament last year to letting me know how much value they saw out of being there and being with the other founders and being with just the experience and the practice, and to see them come back is like, the little engine that keeps going. They're not going to stop until I think they get that trophy in their hands. And I love that kind of determination from a startup. So,
yep. And I'll close on this by saying their app is already available in the App Store, and the Android version is coming soon, although their website is mobile friendly. So check them out.
All right. Nice. Yeah. And drop the mic, right? All right. Thanks so much, Joe. Appreciate it. All right. Next up, we're going to go to the Sunshine State of Florida, where we've got a pretty amazing founder that started a company that was part of our Startup of the Year program back in 2014. So this company is Flat Out of Heels. They're out of Miami, Florida. Dawn Dixon is the founder, and she started the company in 2011. And the idea was more or less, if you're walking around a lot and you're a woman and you're wearing heels, sometimes that's really painful, or sometimes it can be difficult. So she started creating Flat Out of Heels, which were rollable, stylish, compact ballet flats that basically rescue your feet, after being in heels forever. So, long day on heels, you could get a pair of these and put them on and save your feet the agony. So she started doing it, dispensing them through smart, basically just vending machines, basically, where the rollable flats were replaced in a bunch of different machines. You can go get them and immediately have relief. She was distributing through airports, nightclubs, shopping malls, convention centers, places where you're generally on your feet a lot. So pretty amazing concept / company. She did really well in our Startup of the Year. She ended up in third overall in 2014, and then went on to receive funding from Backstage Capital. So our friends Arlen Hamilton and company invested in them, and then she just has a lot of accolades from there on. So she ended up working with organizations like Google and Square One Bank and ADP, where they were actually creating these heels as swag, promotional items for their conferences, and worked on a number of B2B kind of experiences where Flat Out of Heels was the swag or the give me on the kind of things that they were doing for their conferences and things. So a lot of different partnerships, but interestingly, in the process, Dawn figured out another business. So this business led to her next business. She's still the CEO of Flat Out vending machines, or Flat Out of Heels, but then she launched a new company called Popcom, which actually is producing these smart vending machines. So that's pretty cool. And so now she's the CEO of that company, and that company's venture backed as well. So just amazing that she's now running two companies and continuing to kind of press along. A pretty amazing story out of Florida. She's also, I think her other company is based out of the Midwest. So she's got a company out of Columbus as well. So she's pretty busy. So she gave us a little bit of an update, and we're excited. Maybe we should have her on as a guest in the future because
Frank, she sounds like one of those people who doesn't have trouble starting a company. She has trouble not starting a company.
Yes.
She's just always capitalizing on opportunity.
Yeah. And it's funny. Awesome. I ran into her in Columbus a couple years ago, or a year and a half ago. She was part of the Rise of the Rest tour there. So she was one of the companies in Columbus, Ohio, pitching Steve Case and JD Vance and others for investment. And, it was one of those situations where I bumped into her. I was like, what are you doing in Columbus? And we didn't get to completely catch up, but that's what she was doing. She had her other company, which she just had on Start Engine and raised, I think it was over $1 million on her crowdfunding campaign for that. So her other company's off to the races as well. A lot of support, and obviously definitely a starter. But she's really interesting as far as the areas that she's starting in, because the vending machine market now, she has the ability with this new company to not just vend the traditional things you'd think. Maybe flat out heels could be one of them, but there's now the ability to potentially even jump into other areas like these other regulated spaces like alcohol and cannabis and others. And I think that's the interesting thing for a lot of folks that are looking at PopCom. And you can find out more about PopCom at popcom.shop. She's, like I said, she's oversubscribed right now in her Start Engine, which is, if you go to startengine.com/POPCOM, you can find out more about her latest raise. And I'm pretty big fan of what she's up to, and excited to hear what's next with the couple companies she's running.
Two things I want to mention.
Go ahead.
Two things I want to mention about how Flat Out of Heels has updated their product a little bit, because I think this is important. One, I find this so interesting. They're actually selling B2B, and they're selling their flats to companies like Google and ADP and others to use as branded swag as a promotional item at conferences, which I think is brilliant. Because how many times have you found yourself at a conference or on a trade show floor as a woman where your feet are just killing you, right? And you just need to get out of your heels. And the second is they did a big partnership with DSW, and now they'll be giving out flat outs as a gift with purchase, which I think is pretty amazing. That's coming up. They're going to be doing a big promotion with DSW in May of this year.
Oh, good timing.
So if any of you shop at DSW, be on the lookout for your flat outs.
Great. No, thanks for that extra info. That's really great. And sounds like, partnerships matter, right? I always say that, but it's so true. And, obviously a slight pivot there, because she realized where she could, connect with more people with these things. So anyone else have anything? If not, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one quick thing is, if you go to Google Don Dixon's name, you're going to find a lot of cool stuff about Don Dixon. And I think the other part I wanted to mention was just, I love founders who like to give back and who like to share their stories to help others. And she's got some YouTube footage about how hard it is to raise money from venture capitalists in the Black tech community. And she likes to share her story, and even talks about how a policy passed from the Obama administration helped her. So I just think there's always something to learn from someone like Don Dixon. And I love that she shares that information and tries to help others. I
think we should have her as a guest. I think she's got a lot to share.
I think so.
All right, we'll do that. Yeah. Next up, we've got Lazarus 3D, which is out of Houston, Texas. Jen, do you want to share some updates?
Absolutely. So Lazarus 3D, as Frank says, out of Houston, they were actually one of our top 15 at Startup of the Year last year in Boston. And what they do is fascinating. So it's totally switching gears from all the other companies we talked about today. We're looking at the medical space. They are pioneering cutting edge 3D printing technologies in medicine. So they're providing, imagine, realistic medical training models for professionals to improve their surgical skills. And talking with them, I've learned so much about what's done today and what it could be. So for example, you could be having a surgery coming up, and your surgeon may be practicing on a piece of chicken or a piece of fruit, something like that. And, or they did as students, but they don't really have anything. They're not really practicing anymore. That's how sometimes things go wrong, right? These guys have actually really perfected the art of creating a realistic model, right down to personalization of what's going on in your body, that a doctor can order right from, taking all your data, the MRI they have, whatever they have, get that model and actually practice complicated surgeries on this model before they cut into you. And I'm just so amazed by what they're doing. The founder, Jacques Zenefeld, he actually created this 3D printer in his kitchen. He worked on all these different models and invented these materials in order to create these realistic models that you could actually inject with liquids and make just like the human body.
I would love to see his kitchen, because what if you confuse? You never want to confuse the vegetables with the 3D printed parts. Where do those go? That's got to be a fun picture.
Yeah.
So one clarification, Jen, just to be very clear, it's not just 3D printed parts so that they can simulate it. It's 3D printed parts that have taken data from the patient, so that the upcoming surgery is you're almost practicing on that person, like a replica of the specific patient.
It's both. So they provide both. So you could just order, a hospital could order, sort of more generic parts, but they just launched their patient-specific model line. where you can actually, take that specific patient's information from their MRI and create a replica of what's going on in that person's body. So their patent pending technology lets them create human tissues and body parts that mimic the mechanical properties of the real body parts. It's absolutely game changing. This is life-saving. It is. They've already saved lives. They have some amazing stories about lives they've already saved. They actually were part of the NASA iTech competition at the end of 2018, and they were one of the top 3 winners. They've had some really great news lately. I just talked to them, and they got their notice of allowance on their patent, which means they just have to complete their filing, and they've got their final patent. They've doubled their revenue recently. They've grown their company. They've added a few more key members, and probably most importantly, they've had their billing code approved. Which is huge with insurance companies, because getting into that CPT system with insurance, I guess, really is a game changer for things like this, where, so far this kind of thing is up to the doctor if they want to pay out of pocket, or up to the patient if they want to pay out of pocket. And now to have insurance cover that makes it much, much easier decision for somebody to say, yes, I'm going to order this. So they're fantastic. They have so much energy. I know that they've been completing their first angel round, but now actually they're working on their Series A. I think they're raising about $1.5 million, almost complete. Still have a little bit more room. So just really excited about where they're going.
And founders that give back. They want to give back to the youth community of inventors, and I just love them.
Yes, that's right. Lori, can you share that? So Jacques Zenefeld and his wife is actually part of the team as well. I think she's one of their lead engineers. They're a brilliant couple. Like, sitting in the same room with them is kind of, you always feel like the dumbest person in the room. But they do give back. Lori, can you remind us about that story in Boston?
Just really, really quick. I mean, I saw them talking to every founder, and every which way they're always trying to help any way they can. There's those types of people. There's amazing people, like you said. And we had 5 young inventors at our event in Boston, and one of them had a pretty outdated what do you want to call model of the spine. She had scoliosis, and he was immediately taken by her story and what she had been through, and why she wanted to make sure that there was a way to take tests accurately with scoliosis with this vest that she was creating. And so he said, I want to make your the way you present this even better. So I can make you a new scoliosis or a new spine model, is what I think he told her. And so we need to get them back connected. It sounded like they lost track a little bit. He's probably been a little busy as well. So we'll get them reconnected. But she was blown away by the fact that he even offered up that, and the support and generosity of both he and his wife just seems to always shine through everywhere we go.
I love that. That's awesome. You always love hearing those stories. So thanks so much for adding it. I love this company. I think it's really interesting and could save a lot of people's lives, and that's super powerful. I mean, I can think of a couple of friends that right off the bat that could have leveraged it. And I also am thinking I'd love to get all of my parts made into 3D parts, so I can at least just look at them. It'd be kind of neat.
Moving on.
Look out, JC.
All right. Next up, we have, last but not least, One Milo. Rich, do you want to take it away?
Absolutely. So One Milo is based in Miami, Florida. So another Florida company, and also in the medical tech space. It was founded by brothers Lawrence and Russell Lee in 2017. And they provide lab tests, take-it-home lab tests that are synced to your smartphone. And so their proprietary device takes strips that have either blood or urine samples on them, and then provide an analysis of over 100 different types of diagnostic tests. So we've talked about Aperiomics before, which was focused on rare diseases and identifying unique and rare conditions. One Milo is more focused on the general conditions in the more common blood tests that you would need to take. And one of the great use cases for this really is that, frankly, visiting a lab or your doctor's office to get your blood tested is it's inconvenient and it's inefficient for both sides. And you think about it, you drive at least 15 minutes and you sit in the waiting room, and then you get blood drawn, and then you leave, and then you wait for the results. And, there's an hour of your life that you're not getting back. And if you need to do this on a regular basis, there are some one-off solutions for specific types of blood tests to be done, but nothing that is very broad or general that can do multiple tests across the board. And so it plugs into their app, and they have an ecosystem that ties into the app that provides additional analysis and results. You can buy over the counter and perform the test at home, or it can be covered by your insurance and have your care provider prescribe it, and you go and pick it up, and your insurance pays for it. And so you can pick them up at the pharmacy and test anytime or anywhere. And the founding team here is super smart. So Dr. Lawrence Lee completed his radiology residence at Harvard, and he received his fellowship in cardiovascular and interventional radiology, and he also served on the faculty at Harvard Medical School. So he's smart. And Russell Lee has a 15-year career in finance that included investing in an Israeli biotech firm that is now listed on the NASDAQ. And he was previously the founder of a smart sensor startup. And so One Milo for Russell is this combination of his passion for biotech and IoT put together into one device, and the opportunity to work with his brother and some other smart people on the team. Like Lazarus 3D, they were a NASA iTech Cycle 3 winner. So in the end of 2018, during 2018, they competed against hundreds of startups from around the world and were among the top 10 that were selected to come and pitch at the iTech finals in October. And they were one of the 3 winners selected. And you could see why NASA likes this, right? Because the One Milo tech allows you to perform tests anywhere on Earth or in space. So One Milo is out doing great things, and I look forward to seeing One Milo at my local CVS or Walgreens.
Yeah, so I get the privilege of working quite a bit with the NASA iTech team, and I was able to see and work with Russell for almost a week when he was pitching at the iTech event in Hartford last fall, and to see, even just since they pitched at our Boston event and then at the iTech event, the growth they've had and the wins with insurance companies and things like that is incredible. The way that they started to talk with NASA and then evolved their product based on the feedback of, what would this look like in a zero gravity environment, or working with astronauts, made them completely rethink how they could rework their product and actually have that improve the product on Earth, not just for space. So they're constantly thinking about ways to improve and to get this out there and to, again, really change our everyday interfacing with healthcare. And I just love it. I think these guys are great. I'm super excited. Both Russell and from One Milo and Jacques from Lazarus 3D are going to be speaking on a panel at the Space Symposium. It's a NASA panel next week. So I'm excited to see both of them on stage again.
Excellent. That's great.
I think it's clear we love NASA, and we should have NASA on the call as well.
Yeah, we could have somebody.
I don't know. I think we know a few people over there. Maybe
we do know a few people over there.
We probably have some NASA music too that we could.
Maybe we have them join from the space station.
Ooh, that's a great idea. I love that.
I'm always filled with ideas. All right. So, anybody else have anything to add about One Milo? All right. Love them. Yeah, we like One Milo too. Okay, so that's all of our companies today. But before we say goodbye on this episode, we wanted to take a moment to hear from somebody from our team, our friends at Inno. So everyone knows we're working down in New Orleans with a group that is creating a new conference, the INNOconf, and we're excited to be producing a Startup of the Year event down there where we'll have about 50 companies showcasing and pitching to a great group of judges for a chance at fast tracking to our Startup of the Year Summit, which is in the fall. So pretty excited about that. Excited to be working down in NOLA, and we're going to hear a little bit more about what's going on in New Orleans from somebody that's been down there working for quite some time. Hello, everybody. I'm here talking with Gerard Ramos. He's from Revelry, and he's down in New Orleans. And really appreciate him joining us today. He's got a lot of great insights about New Orleans and a great story himself about what led him to start up down there and what he's been up to. So, hey, Gerard, how's it going?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for joining today. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're up to with Revelry down in New Orleans?
Yeah, so Revelry is a digital innovation lab. We've been around for about 6 years now. We build a platform that helps companies scale, and we work with startups and corporates and people trying to build cool stuff.
Okay, great. And why New Orleans, of all places? I mean, there's a lot of different places you could start up and run a business.
But yeah, man, so I'm originally from here, and I was working on a project with some friends of mine, and my only customer was in Las Vegas, actually, when Katrina hit. And so that wasn't in New Orleans. So I moved to Vegas, finished that project, worked at Zappos for a little while, then moved to San Francisco. Was there for a few years, did a quick stint in Tahoe, and then I met this girl, and I had this startup idea, and my buddy Chris Schultz was launching a incubator down here, and made my way back. So that's how I got back to New Orleans. But that company, something we maybe get into here, but back then, 2011, 12, New Orleans tech scene was really much smaller than it is today. There wasn't much capital, and flew around the country with all my seed money trying to raise money for the company. And everybody was trying to tell me to move back out to the coast, and I couldn't build a tech company in New Orleans. So I didn't have really a choice because I ran out of money and I was flat broke. So I started this company.
And you're here to prove them wrong. You can start a company in New Orleans, and you've been doing it now you've been doing it for a while now. So that's really great. And I mean, it was a roundabout way to get back, right? You went through Las Vegas. I think everyone goes through Las Vegas at some point, and then San Francisco and then back. So it's like a boomerang for you a little bit, but I'm glad to hear that you're down there and doing well. Can you share now what you love about New Orleans? You're from there. Obviously, you probably have a lot of different things, but if you had to boil it down, what's the thing that really makes your heart skip a beat, I guess you could say, about New Orleans?
It's just a magical place, man. I mean, I'm from here, so I'm a little biased, but the music's incredible. There's something for everyone. The food is amazing. People are unbelievable. The support. And especially, in this ecosystem is just really, really coming together, and just the crowd and the people are super open to supporting everyone, and it's just a fun place to be. From a business standpoint, it's very small. It's a small, tight-knit community, and everyone's sort of rising to the occasion to support each other. It's a little tough because we don't have a lot of, like, on the B2B side, we don't have a lot of corporates here, but on the B2C side, it's not a huge city. But the support from the community has been growing ever so slowly, but it's getting there, and it's good, man. It's been a fun place to build a company. It's cool to be able to bring jobs and create jobs and just impact the economic development efforts that are going on. So yeah, it's a fun place to be.
No, that sounds like it. And you mentioned a lot of different things there. Magical place stands out. Music. I mean, the music scene and the jazz there is, people know New Orleans for the jazz and Jazz Fest, which is coming up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But food, beignets, right? Like, it's got that's all I could think of is all the powdered sugar and how I'm going to feel when I'm down there. Anyway, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. The thing you didn't mention, though, is it's a little bit like Vegas as far as a lot of people come through, right? I mean, it's on one of the number one places that people go out to kind of participate, whether it be in the festivals or Mardi Gras or some of these other things that happen down there. Do you guys see a benefit to that?
Yeah, we do. I mean, of course, it's a tourist. It's definitely a tourist city. I mean, the economy, just the tourism economy. I don't know the numbers really. $6 billion a year, $10 billion a year, something like that. It's pretty significant. Hosting Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff. It's an amazing place to host conferences. It's very we're visitor friendly and welcoming place. So yeah, and there's the Mardi Gras and the big parties and all that kind of stuff. But it's not just about the parties. It's also an amazing place for families, and there's a ton of cool stuff to do with kids. I've got a couple kids, and it's a great place to live, and yeah, I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, so that makes sense. And then, taking a little bit of a turn, what do you think New Orleans could improve upon?
Oh man, that's a good question. There's so much to improve on, always, with any place, right? But here specifically, I think we need more of the bigger businesses to support the startup ecosystem, and just as in general, not for their specific needs, but in general to increase the capabilities of the talent pool. We've got some, groups like Geno Inc. are doing incredible work and helping bring a lot of really amazing companies to town. DXC has just moved here. Accenture's just moved here. A few others that are coming in, and all of that stuff is amazing, and working towards doing that. And there's big companies here, which and they have been getting involved with the startup community and the innovation community. And Ochsner Innovation Group is a pretty incredible. I mean, one of the largest employers in the state. Intergy is a big company here that's doing a lot of good work. It's really been impressive and reassuring to see a lot of that stuff going on. And then with all of these new initiatives and all this new stuff, there's a ton of jobs, right? So people, are looking at New Orleans and should be looking at New Orleans as an opportunity for great jobs and a place to build companies, and all that stuff is what we're trying to build here, and it's happening. I mean, there's a ton of opportunity here right now. There's a lot of cool stuff in the opportunity zones and what Launchpad's doing. The companies, the startups that are going through Idea Village. We've got, some amazing companies coming out of Idea Village right now. I think there's about, I can't remember exactly, 13 companies in the cohort. The vast majority of those have already closed their seed rounds, coming out of an accelerator, which is amazing. Tulane University in LaPage, and Rob Lauka over there is doing amazing work. We've got an awesome startup report that's coming out of the region. I think 200 companies or something have participated in that. So, but all of that, that's all great. And I think that, we need to continue to embrace this abundance and support each other and continue to do that. Outside of that, we've got some issues, with our education stuff and systems, which there's, 4.0 Schools is doing amazing work here. There's different efforts that are going on with just embracing the local community. I think that needs to pick up, and there's a lot of amazing people working with the local community to sort of create an environment where it's not so scary to get into the tech industry. So we need to really focus on a lot of that stuff, bringing diversity into jobs, which New Orleans is starting to rank in the top 5, top 10 in diversity in tech and women in tech and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of good work, a lot of hard work being put towards solving a lot of those problems, and it's exciting to be involved with it. Yeah,
no, it sounds like there's a lot going on. So that's great. Okay, so we're working on something with you guys. We got the Startup of the Year event coming up during INNOconf, which you guys are spearheading April 29th through May 2nd. Can you share a little bit of detail about what sparked the creation of INNOconf and what your vision is, and just give us kind of an update?
Sure. So, yeah, stoked to be working with you guys on this. It's going to be a real fun conference. Yep. Yeah, so it all started last year. Well, Collision was coming here for a few years, and I was kind of involved with the host committee and sort of helping corral locals to get involved and all that good stuff. And, last year they announced they were moving, and once we caught wind that they were moving, we were kind of debating on doing a conference at another time of year. But then it was just like, well, let's just piggyback on them exiting, throw this website up, call it the largest innovation conference in the world, little jab at Patty. I love him. Actually, he was the first person asked to speak at it, but he said he couldn't. But whatever, maybe he'll come back and speak next year. There's still time, Patty, if you're listening. But anyway, so we put the website up, and 1,000 people, shared interest and signed up to hear more. And, we decided to sort of get rolling on it and brought in Sloan Miller as an executive director, spun it out as its own production company, and here we are. And so why, right? So first of all, the week between Jazz Fest is an amazing time in New Orleans. You've got musicians here Jazz Fest is 2 weekends long, right? So it's Thursday through Sunday on the first weekend, and then Thursday through Sunday on the second weekend this year. And then during the week, a lot of these musicians stick around, and they'll just show up randomly in a bar or like just start playing in the street and stuff like that. So there's just like all these incredible experiences and encounters that you run into for that reason. And then throwing a tech conference in the middle of it and an innovation conference in the middle of it just kind of made sense. And it's just fun because there's not your typical tech conference, right? It's not, it's just a cool time to be in town. And Collision sort of proved that model. So we just kind of piggybacked off that. Like both people will come. And we kind of ran with it. So yeah, our goal was to really create an environment to kind of showcase the regional startups and bring corporate partners together with investors to create an environment where, people can network, deals could get done, and again, just continue to embrace abundance around here. And we're on the third coast, right? We're not on the West Coast and the East Coast. It's not like we have, billions and billions of dollars of venture capital hanging around, and it's important to support each other and network. And there's a ton of opportunity here, and there's a ton of great companies and amazing people, and and that whole rise of the rest sort of way. It's a good time to be coming to this kind of event. We've got a lot of great investors coming in. We've got corporate partners coming in, and we're expecting about 500 attendees or so. So it'll be good.
No, we're excited to work with you guys. I hadn't been down in New Orleans since our Rise of the Rest stop. I was on the Steve Case bus tour a few years ago, and excited to be headed back and working with you guys on our Startup of the Year competition and fast tracking a couple companies to our finals, which will be in the fall. So thank you so much for joining me today, Gerard. Appreciate what you're doing down there, and I think you can kind of hear the passion coming through with everything you're talking about in New Orleans, and there's a lot of excitement and a lot obviously to do still, but a lot in motion. So we're excited to be a part of it and working with you and helping support it. And really thank you for joining today. I know you're a busy guy, especially only a few weeks out from the big event. So thank you so much, Gerard.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yep. Thanks. All right. So that's pretty interesting. That was really great. There's so much going on down in New Orleans.
I'm trying to lose 10 pounds so I can eat beignets.
I love beignets. We're going to have a good time. And so it's between Jazz Fest too. I forgot to mention that tie-in. So if you go to Jazz Fest and you're going the first weekend, just stay on down there for the middle part. And, INNOconf's happening, and, it should be a great time. So anything else we wanted to add? I think, Rich, you might have an update you wanted to share.
I just wanted to remind everybody if you have not yet checked out the Silicon Valley Bank Startup Outlook Report for 2018, it's filled with a lot of great information about the state of the industry for startups. They cover US, UK, Canada, and China. And so definitely go and check that out. The link will be in the show notes. It's also soty.link/SVB19 is the short link for that.
Thank you for reminding us to share that info and go check that report out. Jen, did you want to say something?
So anyone in the Gulf region who, as Frank mentioned, wants to come up the weekends sometime between Jazz Fest, most important night is April 30th. Join us at the Ace Hotel. We're going to have Startup Night NOLA at Inno. We'll be showcasing 40 to 50 of the Gulf region and beyond's most amazing companies. It's going to be a big party. We'll have some live pitching going on, and best yet, it's free to attend. So we would love to see you there.
NOLA style. So thank you all very much for your updates. We're excited to be headed down there not very long from now. And I'm excited for jazz. I love jazz. So thanks everyone for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on all the channels that are available. wherever you consume your podcast, but also check out our Daily Deal Flow, which is a newsletter that we put out every weekday with a startup that's raising funding. And you might find some really interesting companies. And if you're interested in investing in companies, that's a great place to find them. So thank you all very much for joining us.
What would be a good website to find all that information,
That's a great
Frank?
point. We're at startupofyear.com. You can find all that information.
I'm already there.
Talk to Siri or Alexa. Tell them to get there immediately.
Thanks for listening to the Startup of the Year podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode soon.